Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and whatever the bloody hell you want to call yourself. We have a guest today. We have Syntax. She is technically an intellectual, or she was until I tell her what I'm about to tell her. So, oh sweet summer child of complete innocence. Yeah, I know. I'm actually still going to use that word. It does apply. There is a new gender that has come out. It's something. I'm not actually sure how to put this, but how weird can you possibly imagine a gender could be?
So when you're, are you talking like in the LGBTQA? It's an actual.
Yes, it is an actual LGBTQ, BBC, ITV, etc., etc. It's one of them.
Well, I like the A. I like ally. I get confused with pansexual,
Okay.
but that's not a gender. That's a sexual. I don't know. What is it? Tell me. I don't know.
It begins with a C, doesn't it, Doku?
Yes, it does.
And I realize you're going to think that what I'm about to say, you're going to think is wrong. I'm sending you in DMs the video that will explain. So you can look it up later and call me, oh my God, Cake.
Cake?
You heard Cake. And it is defined such because it is light and fluffy. Yes.
What are they doing with this cake?
No, it is a new gender.
Like an attraction to cake, or they are identifying as cake?
They identify as
I find myself attracted to cake.
Do you know what? I completely understand this as a concept.
Because I want people to be attracted to them.
Yeah. I don't actually know what.
What is someone who identifies as cake?
That video I sent you, there is a person in there.
But if they identify as cake.
Yes. Yes.
Let me see if I can pull this up and.
Oh God.
The Islam one?
Yep. It is at the time link to it, so it literally takes you a few moments to watch it. It's probably going to take you longer to bounce your head off the wall a few times.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to click it. No, I clicked it. Oh my gosh.
Cake.
Sorry. Okay, so you want me to watch that afterwards? I just don't understand how someone would identify as cake. I would be attracted to cake.
No. If they were attracted to cake, so that would be actually make sense.
Full orientation.
Mm-hmm. No. This person.
Yeah, because people have weird kinks, right?
Oh yes.
Oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and
maybe.
Syntax, let me go ahead and do this for you. You guys should be able to hear this, so I'm gonna just go ahead. Let me know if this is coming through.
One moment. Okay, go. Oh God.
Okay, I would describe xenogenders as a gender that could not typically be described with terms such as masculinity, femininity, neutrality, androgyny, things like that. It's more of not how you relate to a particular gender experience, but more of how you relate to things. For example, cake gender. I know people who personally use this. It's typically described as them feeling light and fluffy or sweet and warm, and it's not something that you could typically describe with the terms masculine, feminine, androgynous, etc. Another example of cake gender would be if someone feels like they have different layers or flavors to their particular gender.
So okay. You guys
thought we were joking. Yeah. Oh God,
but
you actually know
I think you guys are taking this. No, I think you guys are taking this as a literal, and it's a metaphor, kind of like the the ogre and the onion thing, or like layers, right? She's just saying light and
Yeah.
fluffy. So it sounds more of like personality descriptives. Not that the person actually thinks they're a piece of cake, right?
But that's not a gender.
No, it's not a gender. It's a personality trait.
They're trying to say it's a gender. That's why it's funny. It's like, bro, cake is not a gender. You could say you feel like cake. Like, I feel light and fluffy. I feel like I have layers. Bro, you're not cake. Like, you're not a confectionery.
How many people's penises identify as a what's the Twinkie, right? Like, it's not a penis, it's a Twinkie.
Oh, my stale Twinkie is hard and filled with cream.
Keep going until you get the cream filling, baby.
There is just so many comments that can be made about this. You literally don't know where to start. Now you see what I was saying. Oh, you poor sweet summer child. When it comes to it casting as normal, because there is absolutely nothing that is normal about this. But here's the thing: as I've said this to Doku earlier, and I think he actually agrees with me. You realise that basically what this means is that Shrek, the movie, was actually ahead of its time. Because after all, it was talking about ogres and layers.
And onions.
Wrap me in plastic and call me hostess, baby, because I'm about to make you fat.
Give me the ding dong.
Oh my dear gods.
See, this is the bad part though. These people take this shit seriously. It's a joke. Like, the fact that we can make these types of jokes so easily, it's like, yo, it's time to stop. We have reached peak clown world.
Yes.
I think what we're seeing though is this need for people to be different and special in some way, and things that maybe were considered taboo or not socially correct is now what people are like virtue signaling. And so even though it's not really a gender, they're talking about personality traits, light and fluffy and blah blah blah. Like, you're seeing them wanting to be special and different. And people are doing it with tics too. Have you seen that? Where people are like pretending to have Tourette's because it makes them cool?
Yes.
Did the two of you see the Bill Maher the clip of Bill Maher from what he said last night?
No, what did he say?
No.
So Bill Maher, and I would say he's correct on this one. If you look generationally, in regards to like the LGBTQIA whatever plus community, cake community.
Thank you. I'm glad you remember the important one.
I forget ally, but anyways, keep going.
Well, so what he said is, if you look at through the generations, people in the 50s, 60s, people that identified as like gay, bi, trans, whatever, it is, a very low percentage. Then you look at the generation just after, the boomer generation, it's a little bit higher, roughly twice. Then you look at, if you take it all the way to millennials, it's like 20% of, it's like millennials was like 10%, and I think it's zennials is like 20%. And he made the joke, like, at this rate, in 3 generations, everybody's going to be gay, bi, or trans. And he accurately points something out.
Because of stigma?
Well, he accurately points this out, because if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, yeah, there are a lot of people who say they identify as LGBTQIA cake plus with an extra cherry on top, because it is trendy. It is social engineering. It's not a lot of
Sorry, well, dude, with a cherry on top, we're talking about cake gender. Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I did go there.
Okay.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you a little bit, Doku.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, aside from the stigma, right, and people being able to come out, I think sexual orientation is a spectrum, right? It's not gay or straight. And so you have bi, right? But even still, you have heteroflexible as well. So that might be someone who like a female who likes men, but when she drinks, sometimes she likes to kiss and play with girls, and that happens like a lot, right?
Well, she's bi.
No, heteroflexible.
No, you're just bi.
No.
Like you just
No.
you just have attraction to both genders.
No, but
Like-
they really are just kind of just like in rare circumstances, and maybe they don't even want to have sex with them. They just find that person attractive. Like it's like a varying levels, I would say.
You're bisexual. You're bisexual. It's
And then-
sexual
and
attraction.
then-
You're bisexual.
He's not wrong.
Okay. What if, okay, because I've also seen this too. What if she's not really attracted to the woman, but she knows that other men find it attractive when she does stuff with a woman, and so she really wants the man to be attracted to her, because girls do that all the time too.
That's my one. I got this one, Doku.
All right,
She's a
take
slut. She's a slut. Okay.
I was gonna say she just wants to get railed in a sundress, but hey.
I just went there, mate.
That's a thing too.
It really is. By the way, just for a humour factor, remember that there was that whole thing recently about this being a clown world. You heard about this, yes?
No.
Oh God,
What am
she doesn't know about
I missed this too?
Doku. She doesn't know about clown world. I'm going to give this one over to you in a moment. Well, now before I do, they've now actually created a clown gender, so you can now identify it as a clown. Doku, good luck with this one, buddy.
Yeah, you can identify as a joke all you want. It's not going to change the fact that you're a joke. But here's the
Yeah,
problem.
but at least they can bring the rubber, right? The little balloon animals.
But see, here's the problem. It's like, okay, you're a gender. It doesn't when we're talking about gender, it's like, okay, you can identify as whatever you want. I really don't give a damn. It doesn't change your biological sex, and it doesn't change what your sexual attraction is. You say, I'm this gender. Like, okay, cool. Do you like men? Do you like women? Do you like both? Well, if the answer is yes to any of this, well, guess what? You're either straight, gay, or bi. That's it.
Or heteroflexible.
It's like, I'm sorry, like, dude, cake is not a fucking gender. Like, you can use it to describe how you feel about yourself all you want. Like, yeah, feelings are nice and fluffy.
It's descriptive.
But it's not a
People
gender. Gender, biological sex, and sexual attraction are inherently tied together. They're not separate from each other. They all have some element of what's between your legs, how are you born, what are your chromosomes. No, cake is not a fucking gender. You can use it to describe your feelings all you want, but it doesn't mean that I'm cake sexual.
But
Like, no,
Doku,
I'm sorry.
I think,
No.
like,
Doku, I want to be parfait. Everyone loves parfait. Do you really know anyone who says they don't like parfait?
I like
I
parfait, but
actually
I don't
went
like when they put blueberries in the parfait. I don't like blueberries.
Oh no, you're literally Hitler.
That's it. That's disgusting.
I don't like
No.
blueberries.
You Trump supporter, how dare you? You don't like blueberries. I'm
I
sorry,
did not vote
ladies
for
and
Trump.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, and whatever else you want to call yourself. You're having to deal with literally Hitler now. It's disgusting.
Hey, wait, but backtrack real quick. So people are saying they identify their gender as a clown.
Oh yes, because they're jokes.
Yes.
But you know what? Wouldn't that just be a kink? Like, I think people are mislabeling things.
You know, I would actually accept if it was a kink. No,
If they said it was a kink, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
that part
Exactly.
makes sense. No, they
It's a
actually
kink.
they sexually identify as clowns.
Uh,
Not they become clowns as part of their sexual preferences. They actually identify as clowns.
So
Well,
I have so many questions.
that's not. Is a clown a gender? Is a clown
No.
androgynous?
I-
Like,
Doku, I just need to say this to you, mate. Honk honk. I
They
just-
sell
no.
at Walgreens. Jensen, do you know what Walgreens is? Do you have them there?
I know of it because I've talked to you guys enough. Go on.
Okay, so Walgreens is the pharmacy, right? And so right now they're
Yes.
doing their it's a fundraiser donation thing for kids with cancers, but they've got this red squeaky nose, a clown nose that you can buy for $1. And so now I'm gonna see that. I'm gonna be like, oh, that's
Oh
creepy.
no! I just figured it out.
Yep.
Figured it out. I know how you sexually identify as a clown.
Oh God.
How?
Yes.
Slap a
Please
rubber
tell
band
me
around
it
my
involves-
shaft. Slap a rubber band around my shaft and squeeze the left testicle. I'll go meep meep, and if you squeeze the right one, I'll go beep beep.
Ouchie.
I
honks.
wonder
It will honk. Oh,
what if
no.
you could rig it so you squeeze the testicle and it like blows up one of those balloon animal balloons, like you know they little pumpers.
That cost extra. That cost extra. Damn it. That's a party trick.
Oh, this is
Ooh.
wrong on so many levels. I love it.
Oh, this is how you get elected to political office.
Don't actually laugh because that might actually be true. Okay.
I mean, you know, this is probably what they were trying to hide in Epstein's flight logs and Gissing's Maxwell's little black book is all the sexual party tricks that actually get you elected to positions of power. Just wrap one rubber band around the ball sack and squeeze twice.
Does that make you wonder, like people who are rich and powerful? I would think they would be the ones that would have the weirdest kinks.
Oh, yes, they are most definitely the ultimate in degenerates. I've got no problem making that statement. And I'm not disrespecting a poor person's choice of degeneracy, but there are whole levels with the rich people, literally just because they can afford it.
You know what? You know how
Mhm.
like the Renaissance happened and people were able to specialize or go into arts and explore more things because they weren't having to worry about securing food. And do you know what I'm talking about, that period in time?
Oh, yes.
Like the Enlightenment. Maybe you get to a point where you've got so much money and you don't have to work, then like you just have this time to explore your weird sexual kinks. And so
Yeah,
and they've
no,
got the
you
money.
are completely correct. You are completely correct with this. Look at the way the world is now, okay? If you went back, I'll tell you what, let's just go back a small number, 50 years, okay? So we're basically floating around the 70s. This sort of shit would be considered absolutely taboo to a level that, hell, the weirdos back then, and trust me, there were more than a few weirdos from what I've been told, they would look at you and go, God damn, you need help, boy. And now we've got this, and it's considered, air quotes, normal.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
know?
because it's been normalized. But there's some things that aren't so bad. Like look at the statistics for oral sex, right? People
Yeah.
who are, boomers,
Yeah.
the amount of women who receive oral sex, the statistics,
Mhm.
it's just not generationally something that's done, right? And so
True.
as you progress more and more time goes by, it becomes normalized, and then you get to like Gen Xers and millennials, and it's completely normalized now. And I'm like, oh, those poor women back, like those boomers. I was like, oh my gosh,
Fair.
I feel so bad for them.
That's actually fair. Did you hear that remember we used the term coof, while the coof was going on, the Canadian government actually suggested the use of glory holes as a form of resistance to the disease.
You say coof like what
The
are we using?
coof. Instead
China.
of
It came from China.
The
shall I
COVID?
just, yes, that.
They were
Then
going
you're
to
not
use
actually,
glory holes?
yeah, you're not actually allowed to use the C word on YouTube. They get upset.
Yeah, Susan gets very mad about that for some reason.
Yes. So
Oh, I just made a video about it, but there's a warning on it now.
yeah, you're
Because
lucky.
Susan doesn't like it.
Nope. we will get a warning on this one now that it's been said. But yes,
Oh, I'm
apparently,
sorry.
hey, don't worry
No,
about it.
we don't care about Susan.
I just,
Susan
I
can go
just
use a
didn't
glory
know
hole.
when he said coof. I didn't know because he's got an accent. I was like, is that a
Yes.
fancy British way of saying queef?
That's a different type of pandemic. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole or glory hole, depending on how you
That
want to look at it.
rabbit hole.
Yep, he actually said that rabbit hole. Well, yeah. So there are some pretty strange people out there. I think we can safely say this proves everything that ever needs to be said. Ever.
I mean,
Yeah, but you know what?
I always did want to know what the exhaust note from a turbo diesel felt like on your sphincter. For scientific purposes, of course.
A friend asked, did they? Okay.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember what psychologist it was. I learned about this in my undergrad, but he was a professor and he gave all of his students diaries and they had to write their feelings like it was experiential or in the moment how it felt to take a shit. And so he was like,
Wow.
I know the things people study, right?
Yeah, he's talking about study, and what I'm about to go into is not pleasant. Okay, I'm just making that statement now. And YouTube, if you want to do something about it, now's a good time to stop us. 3, 2, 1. Have you seen what they're actually teaching the kids in the school when it comes to sexual education and what ages they're starting at?
Which school district are we talking about? Are we talking about maybe one in Virginia?
Pretty much most of America, they're doing this.
Yeah.
They're starting at, what was it? Kindergarten to 3 or something. Hopefully that means something to you guys.
Yeah, so roughly like maybe 4 to 8 years old.
They want to teach children sex education at between 4 and 8 years old.
This baffles me. I've been thinking a lot about this because I took, you know, I'm a social worker. I took a bunch of classes on how to identify sexual abuse or neglect and physical abuse in children.
Yep.
Right. And I worked a lot with kids that were removed from their homes by the state because of abuse. And so one of the red flags, the signs that we would see was children with an inappropriate, as far as their age, an inappropriate level of sexual understanding, right? Because they shouldn't be exposed to certain content at such a young age. And so it baffles me because that was a marker for sexual abuse. And so if we are exposing children to that information at those ages, it is inappropriate and it would be considered sexual abuse. I cannot wrap my brain around it.
In some of these lessons, they actually want the children to write down how it feels to self-pleasure. Yes.
Well,
that is wrong. I don't care. That's
absolutely wrong. I mean, and it's one thing because children are going to explore their bodies, but I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, you know what, maybe you can do that in private or whatever it is that your family believes in, or, you know, you want to say to your kid, like, maybe you guys are like the people that say, no, don't do that. My thing with my kids was like, you do that in your own space. That is not appropriate in front of people. And it is not appropriate for a teacher or someone to be talking to children. And what is even more frustrating to me is the idea that it doesn't matter what the parent's view is, that they can have these conversations and that the parent would have no say. I just don't understand it.
Oh, do you mean the bit where they turn around, don't tell your parents?
Yes.
Do you mean that part? Yeah.
Yes.
I can't see where that could go badly wrong at any point. I mean, it's not like there are any dodgy people that drive around in vans with words free candy written on the side that might actually use the words don't tell your parents.
Well, it pisses me off in any circumstance. So A teacher saying, don't tell your parents that we're talking about that. That pisses me off too, like in the literal sense. But also, like my kids just went to their cousin's church function, and they were like, your parents may tell you that it's okay to be gay and lesbian, but we're telling you that no matter what your parents say, it's wrong. And so
Yep.
so for me, anytime that somebody says don't listen to your parents or don't tell your parents, that's like a red flag. That seems like it seems like they're molding, you know what I mean?
I completely agree with you, hon. And as Papa Cotton says here, it goes further than that. These teachers will talk about their own sex lives with the children.
What?
First off, let's call it what it is. They're groomers.
They are
Grooming.
groomers.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
We are
Absolutely.
now going to be banned, and do not apologise, because I actually utterly support the use of the term groomer to describe these creatures.
Well,
Closely
yeah,
followed by 9mm way of dealing with them. Okay.
But again, I mean,
I'll be honest.
it fits the dictionary definition of the term. Like you're trying to talk to young human beings, young adults who have not gone through puberty about things they don't understand. They are incapable of doing it. They haven't gone through the hormonal changes. They haven't gone through the bodily changes. They don't understand sexuality. So I guess just as a case point, I'll throw myself out there as a proverbial case study. When I was in second, third, fourth grade, yeah, I understand that touching myself in a certain way resulted in physical pleasure.
Yes.
It had no sexual connotation. I did not understand the concept of sex. I did not understand the concept of reproduction. I did not understand it. I was not, at that point in time, I wasn't even physically attracted to anyone. Boy, girl, no. All I knew was like, hey, this feels good. I'm going to climb the fire pole because I like doing it. Do I understand why? No, I have no fucking idea. It's beyond my comprehension.
Yes.
To try to talk to kids about that, I'm sorry, you're talking to children who are incapable of understanding the concepts that you're trying to convey to them. Which brings me to my second point, and this is the more disturbing one. Why is a human being who has gone through all of these processes, who's gone through hormone, they've gone through puberty, they've developed sexually, they know who they're attracted to. Why do you want to talk to kids about why you're attracted to men or women, regardless of what your gender is or what you identify? Why do you want to talk to kids about it? There's only one reason. You want to groom them to being open to your idea of how you think the world should work through a sexual lens. You want them to be accepting of the idea of pansexual or bisexual or cake sexual, whatever it is. You're trying to groom kids into your worldview and you're doing it because you know, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, you have to know at some level that these children are incapable of understanding the concepts that you're trying to convey to them. The only reason you would do that is like trying to talk to a kid about why Donald Trump is good and Biden is bad. They don't know. These kids are not.
They shouldn't.
Yeah, this is not what you talk to kids about. They're not cognitively developed. They're not physically developed. They are incapable of understanding the concepts that you're trying to put down.
I think if we're talking about like gay or straight or bi, I think those are concepts that kids can understand just by, like, oh, my friend has two moms, my friend has, but it doesn't have to be a sexual conversation because that's not age appropriate. So what happens when you have these highly sexual conversations with children, and you expose them to things that aren't appropriate at that level, it kids that are abused or exposed to these things become hypersexual, right? And so then you see kids that are acting out on other children or are engaging with adults or
Syntax, here's the problem though. In regards to these types of conversations, they're inherently sexual.
Like
if a kid comes up to the teacher or comes up to their friends, like, why do I have a mom and a dad and you have two moms or two dads? That there is something inherently sexual behind that conversation. You can't have that type of conversation with a child who doesn't understand these types of concepts and expect to get anything other than, well, their family's different than yours. Like it's not an age appropriate conversation to have, regardless of where it is. I don't care if it's two moms that, two moms, two dads, a mom and a dad, single parent. These are not conversations that are appropriate to have with children, especially if you're a teacher. If the kid really does want to know those things, go ask your parents. Hey, if they want to explain it to your kids, guess what? That's the parents. They're your kids. As long as it's within the realm of just explaining, like, hey, look, not everybody's the same. Like, that's one thing, but that is not what's happening here. What's happening here is very much in the realm of indoctrination and grooming, because you're trying to normalize these types of behaviors. You're trying to put these ideas in children's heads that they're incapable of understanding, and formulating an opinion based upon your own biases. And in this case, it is largely a left-leaning bias, because I have yet to find a conservative that would want to talk to children about sex or marriage or what it means to be cis or bi or gay or straight. This is something I've noticed only from the left. It's exclusively, to the best of my knowledge, from the left, and it's targeted at children. And the only logical conclusion I can come to about this one isn't because they're trying to make children more tolerant and more accepting. It's like, no, this is indoctrination. This is grooming. This is not about understanding why a woman can be attracted to a woman, or why a man can be attracted to a man, or why a man might feel like a woman or a woman might feel like a man. No, that's not what this is about. This is not about tolerance. This is not about acceptance. This is about indoctrinating someone into an ideology who is young and vulnerable and incapable of understanding the concepts that you're presenting to them, because you want them to think like you do.
But it's
And it's
also
inherently
a song,
wrong.
Goku. Don't forget, it's also a song. Man, I feel like a woman.
Damn it, Jensen.
That lightened it up. Oh,
That was the plan.
light and airy and fluffy like cake.
Oh my
Man,
god,
I feel like a cake. I
I'm
feel
a
like a
cake gender.
fruitcake. I feel like a fruitcake.
Trust me, you are a fruitcake.
Don't
okay.
clip that. Don't clip that.
Clip
So-
it, I dare you
so
all.
like- It also plays into, so look at the progression, right? So maybe the conversation starts out about kids masturbating, but by the time they're, about to hit puberty, that's when they start having the conversations about, somebody being transsexual and hormone blockers. And it's so interesting to me because we've come so far, and I'm not saying that in a good way, in the past, maybe 15 years. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a story about a family who had a girl who she had a lot of cognitive disabilities, so developmental disabilities that she was born with. And they were petitioning to do hormone blockers for her because they were saying that they were going to be caring for her for the rest of her life, and it would just be easier if she never had periods and she never really grew into a woman. And it was this huge case, right? Because she can't make that decision for herself, and is it appropriate for the parents to force that on her? And so now, just to look at where we are now, it's just fascinating, and it's kind of sad because let's say a kid, maybe it was a kid that was going to be gay, right? Just a normal gay kid. And then people are like, no, you're trans. And then they go through the hormone block process. That can mess with you.
Oh, yeah. Now, what I'm about to come out with is incredibly, utterly, and totally wrong. Okay, I want it stated right now. Wrong with a capital W, wrong. Child goes up to teacher. Sir, I've been doing the masturbation techniques you've been telling about. You ready for this next bit? Do you want to see? And that's where it starts to go wrong. Because let's be honest, okay, you've got kids. Kids will not have a problem with the words, do you want to see, when it comes to proving things. It's when they start, do you want to see, and they're talking about that sort of thing. The teacher can't say no because they were the one teaching it, at which point you have a child masturbating in front of a teacher.
In front of an adult. There's boundary issues there.
Well, and
Yeah.
let's be honest. Like, let's not beat around the bush on this one. No pun intended. That I've learned my lesson from the singing thing. I'm not going to say what I was going to say because it's just going to never mind. But let's be honest about what's really going on here. This is predatory behavior.
Yes.
It's
I
not
would
just
agree.
inappropriate. It's not
Yeah.
just inappropriate. It's already criminal. Hey, I don't. This is the one thing that drives me nuts. And hopefully, at some point in the future, we will have Gabrielle Clark on the show to go ahead and discuss her experience suing a school. I'll save that for later. We'll sidebar that for now. I don't understand why people are going to school board meetings and complaining about teachers' unions, because this is already criminal behavior. You should be reporting them to the police. This is, by definition, under the law, sexual abuse. These teachers should not just be on libs of TikTok. They should be in a court of law being prosecuted for breaking the law for sexually abusing children.
Yes.
And it does, and a lot of people think like, oh, it's sexual abuse. It's not just you're touching kids. No, mental abuse can still be sexual abuse depending on what the context of what you're talking about is. In this case, the context is sexual. You're talking to kids about sexual topics, especially things they don't understand. This is sexual abuse.
Yeah. And emotional abuse too. Like, even if people are going to say, oh no, it's not sexual, emotional abuse is child abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the fact that this is even going on is abhorrent. It's depraved. It's disgusting. And I know a bunch of people would say, like, "Oh, you're just transphobic or homophobic or this that." Like, no. I don't care about whether you're bi, straight, cis, trans, or whatever. What I care about is why you feel the need and why you think it's okay to talk to prepubescent kids about sexual topics, especially when they're not your children, and why you think that anybody calling you out for your illegal activities is somehow like bad. No, you're the one in the wrong here.
Yes.
Hey, this is not anti-LGBTQIA plus cake gender. This is not me being homophobic or transphobic or no. This is me saying what you're doing is inappropriate at best and abusive at worst.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This isn't your maturation class. I almost said masturbation class, but yes, this is what it is. It's not your traditional maturation class where they tell you to use deodorant and you're going to get pimples and blah, blah, blah. Use pads, that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, it's not good. Okay. But let's step aside from all this and let's actually go to something else. Now, I believe you said you had a rant you wanted to do, hon.
Oh my gosh, I have so many rants.
Pick one and let it rip.
Okay. My latest one that I got people upset with me about, especially because I'm a social worker and we were talking about it before we went live. Okay, the whole thing with Elon Musk, right? Mm-hmm. And it's been happening for a long time. It's just with Elon Musk, it's so clear that it's a political tool. Whether or not something happened with this woman, I don't want to discredit her as a victim and her experience because I don't know. But what I do know is they clearly have had this exploitative tool using the Me Too movement to cancel people. And when they do that, when they use it as a tool, it takes from the experience that anybody who's had any kind of sexual assault, abuse, what have you, and it's frustrating to me. And it's just disgusting that he would say that, I'm voting Republican. And like we were talking about earlier, he totally told us, like, wait for the hack jobs to come out. And it happened. It's so gross. And then since we're talking about it, usually I'm like, oh, the left and the right, I hate them both because let's just face it, I'm not a fan of the Republican Party either. But I was thinking about it. This tends to be, and maybe I'm wrong, isn't this like a tool that the left uses? I don't really see the right using it.
It appears to be a predominantly left use, yes.
Yes, like being racist too. So you're like
Yes.
sexist, racist, sexual predator.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yes, and I'm just sick of it because it steals from the legitimacy. So yeah, that was something that I'm really frustrated about. But at the same time, I think people are finally seeing it. Um, and you remember when Kamala Harris took Bill Clinton to the women's it was like a pro women's movement. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you
The
mean.
Women's
I'm just
March?
laughing at the concept of Bill Clinton being taken to this.
Yes, for championing. He was brought because he's a champion of women. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
holy shit.
Wow. That's
On
that's the thing. Go on, Doku.
in syntax, to touch on what you said, this this actually has a deeper and more nefarious root, and I think it was actually the artist formerly known as Nomad's favorite YouTuber Temple before he had the Timcast IRL thing. He mentioned there was a private Facebook group that had some messages leaked back when Obama was running for office and then also in office, called the Journal List, which once it got leaked, it was dissolved and then later reformed as something called the Cabal. And what they stated is anybody who tries to criticize Obama, just brand them a racist.
Yes.
That's literally all it was. Like it doesn't matter if the criticism is legitimate or illegitimate. It's just brand them a racist. And they've taken that and they've expanded it to like anyone. Like you criticize this thing, you're racist. You criticize this thing, you're a sexist. You criticize this thing, you're
Yes.
homophobic. And that is the strategy they've gone.
Yeah.
And that's the strategy they've gone with. And even now until today, is just brand people as terrible things. Don't ever acknowledge their criticism. Don't talk about their criticism. Don't engage with them in good faith. Don't actually have an argument. Just brand them something, point the finger, and say, no, you.
Well, yeah, because they don't want to have the conversation. So if you dehumanize somebody, you say like, "Oh, you're a white supremacist," right? Then people are going to be like, "I'm not engaging with you. You're a white supremacist. Why should I talk to you?" But then you're having this cancellation of conversations, right? You're not engaging in these different thoughts. And when we do that, you just stick to your echo chamber and you don't challenge any of your belief systems. And that's what they want. They don't want their ideology challenged.
Well,
Yep.
and that is the reason, is because it's the same reason that you have people sitting there and openly stating like free speech is a threat to democracy.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, and the reason they want to do it is the reason they want to shut down conversation is because in an open forum, in an open debate where they actually have to defend their positions, they can't. Yeah, they can't, and they know that. So you either label someone something terrible, you shut down the conversation, you censor people, and you end up with just one side of the conversation gets all the attention. And if that's kind of like what's happening in schools, if that's all you know, if that's all you see, if that's all you're exposed to 24/7, day in and day out, you will eventually end up with either agreeing with it, you'll side with it, you'll start to sympathize with it. It basically a form of Stockholm syndrome almost, or and that's assuming you're easily manipulated. At best, you just shut your mouth. I was actually having a conversation with Tilo, who will be on the show tomorrow, where I was trying to explain to him like why we've ended up in this situation. And the analogy I like to use is when you have people who think they're virtuous, when they think that they're morally correct, whatever they do, the ends justify the means. So you end up with a bunch of people who say everyone who disagrees with me is a Nazi and they're evil. And therefore, because they're evil, because I have deemed them to be such, it's okay to punch a Nazi. Well, by that moral justification, because they do believe they're morally correct, everyone who disagrees is a Nazi. Therefore, it's okay to punch them in the face. So, in that type of environment, you have two possible solutions, or two possible outcomes, not solutions, but two possible outcomes. Outcome number one, you agree with the people who say it's okay to punch Nazis in the face, and you go out and punch Nazis in the face because you believe you're morally justified in doing so. Outcome number 2, you disagree with these people, but you will never challenge their ideology because you don't want to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. It's a very straightforward approach. It's very nefarious. It's malicious, but that is their approach. And up until this point, it's worked. But I do believe there's a good amount of people who are kind of waking up to the fact that, like, you guys are not moral. You're not virtuous. Like, the people you're calling Nazis aren't. Like, you guys are actually the authoritarians here. We're the ones that just want you to leave us the hell alone. And when you come out and espouse this ridiculous bullshit, we're going to point out to you why you're wrong, and we'll explain it in detail. And if you have a rebuttal, if you have a defense, I'm more than happy to hear it. Hashtag change my mind. But they don't want to have that conversation because they know if that conversation happens, they will lose the moral high ground.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Han, you first.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's very sad because you see these people who are so indoctrinated into it. I think academia is a huge part of this. And they become so passionate and angry that you'll see them. You've talked about this before, Doku, when you talk about how people have emotional conversations instead of logical. And then they lose their shit. And it's funny, but at the same time, it's so sad.
All right. May I give you both a lovely little story? We are coming close to the end. We are down to absolutely no buns watching us, so may as well bring it to an end soon. But just something for you to think about, okay? I was in McDonald's picking up a drink. There was quite a few people in there. Behind me, there was a bunch of school kids. And I'm sitting there casually ignoring the world, just waiting patiently. Then I hear, "Oh my God, this is so literally Nazi that I've got to wait for my stuff."
Wait, what? They used the term Nazi?
Because they had to wait for their food. Yes. It took all of my willpower not to turn around and say something. But what can you do when kids believe it's Nazi that they don't get what they want, when they want it, how they want it, as they demand it? Can we see this is going bad?
It's social engineering. Right, that's what it is. It's social engineering.
Yeah, despicable. It really is.
Well, the scariest part, I don't think we've actually had this conversation, Jensen. I will save it for a later date, but I'll just I'll surmise it very quickly.
Okay.
And it actually does tie into what Syntax was talking about, when you trivialize something, when you make everything about you do a thing that I don't like, therefore you're a Nazi, or this thing makes you a sexual abuser. You start trivializing these types of things.
Yes.
Well, when everyone that you don't like or you disagree with from your perspective, looking at the world through your lens, is a Nazi, you're never going to recognize the actual Nazis when they show up. And when it happens, you're going to be regretting that decision.
I wonder if that's what they're doing. Nah, too obvious. Well, I will be bringing it to an end here. Thank you very much for coming on, Sin. Thank you for doing most of the hard work, Doku. And just remember, ladies, gentlemen, and whatever else you are, cake is now agenda.
Yummy.
Honk, honk. Honk, honk.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.